Hey everybody, Josh here. It's in a World Alternative Media here, and welcome to another one of our shows here today. Make sure to hit that like button, check those links below, and all of that fun stuff. We're going to get to questions very shortly. There's a lot of interesting stuff in the news that I want to go into first. I'm alone on this stream today, but nonetheless, I want to go into first, before we get into anything else, our top story today, and I'm going to bring it up on the screen for you guys in just one moment here. As this article out of NBC News, our favorite BS mainstream propaganda network, it says Tyson Foods chairman warns the food supply chain is breaking. This is something we've been warning about for many years, and the potential of how it will affect the average person, very dependent these days. As it continues, it says, in recent weeks, the poultry producer has temporarily suspended operations at plants across the country. And as the article further goes into below, it says, if I can load this up here, there we go. The board chairman of Tyson Foods is warning that millions of pounds of meat will disappear from the national food supply chain as the coronavirus outbreak forces food processing plants to shutter. The food supply chain is breaking, John Tyson wrote in a full-page advertisement published Sunday in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. It says, and I quote, there will be limited supply of our products available in grocery stores until we are able to reopen our facilities that are currently closed, he wrote in the advertisement, which was also published as a blog post on the company's website. In recent weeks, the major poultry producer has temporarily suspended operations at plants across the country. The company halted operations Wednesday at an Iowa plant that is crucial to the nation's pork supply. You could see this tweet here from Anna Swanson. The food supply chain is breaking. Tyson Foods warns in a full-page ad in the New York Times. As it continues here, it says, in addition to meat shortages, this is a serious food waste issue. Farmers across the nation simply will not have anywhere to sell their livestock to be processed when they could have fed the nation, John Tyson wrote. Millions of animals, chickens, pigs, and cattle will be depopulated because of the closure of our processing facilities, he adds, which, by the way, means that they're just going to slaughter all these animals and throw them in the garbage because government. As it says here, 4 employees of Tyson's operations in rural southwest Georgia died earlier this month after becoming infected with the coronavirus, a company spokesman told the Associated Press. Tyson has told NBC News that it is taking steps to protect its workers, including installing dividers between workers and relaxing its attendance policy to allow sick workers to stay home. Tyson isn't the only company to shutter plants in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Smithfield Foods, the world's largest pork processor, has temporarily closed plants across the country as some of its workers have become sickened. The company's CEO also warned of supply chain issues when it closed its Sioux Falls, South Dakota plant after more than 400 employees tested positive for coronavirus. Smithfield says the Sioux Falls plant is one of the largest pork processing facilities in the U.S. As it says here, the closure of this facility, combined with a growing list of other protein plants that have shuttered across the industry, is pushing our supply perilously close to the edge in terms of our meat supply, Kenneth Sullivan, Smithfield's president and CEO, said in a statement. It is impossible to keep our grocery stores stocked if our plants are not running. These facility closures will also have severe, perhaps disastrous repercussions for many in the supply chain. First and foremost, our nation's livestock farmers. These farmers have nowhere to send their animals. As it says here, Smithfield has been accused in a lawsuit of not doing enough to protect workers at a crowded Missouri plant. Kira Lombardo, Executive Vice President of Corporate Affairs and Compliance at Smithfield, has denied these allegations. Cargill Inc., JBS USA, and National Beef Packing Co. have also shut down plants in the USA. The United States Department of Agriculture addressed supply chain's concerns in a Monday statement. Oh, this should be good. As it says, and I quote, the food supply chain is a critical industry in the United States, and Secretary Perdue fully recognizes the need to keep workers and inspectors safe during the COVID-19 national emergency, the department said in a statement. USDA recognizes and supports the efforts of private industry and companies to maintain operational status of their facilities while also maintaining the safety and health of their workforce. USDA, together with the FDA and CDC, will continue to support a whole of America approach to ensure the food supply chain remains safe and secure. It's not currently. And the major issue that we're witnessing right now, and is absolutely catastrophic, my friends, is that, as we reported before, many years back, it only takes about a week or so for stores to run out of groceries, and say the grid goes down, something like that happens, and people rush on these places. They're dependent. They don't know how to grow their own. They don't know how to collect their own. In some cases, they're criminalized for growing their own on their front lawns or collecting rainwater. So we've been put into a very strange situation where most of the population is extremely, extremely dependent, which puts us all in very much danger. Now, what Tyson's Foods is pointing out here is that you are witnessing a possible complete collapse of the supply chain. And if we see a complete collapse of the supply chain, you see people starving. Essentially, we're talking about a health emergency. That's a health emergency. Poverty is a health emergency. Not being able to eat is a health emergency. You just go back to ancient Rome and just see how things turned out when the grain shortages happened. Then everyone ended up dying in the streets. Diseases spread. The Roman plague spread like wildfire. People were dying left and right. And guess what? People ended up revolting on the leaders of their country. In one case, a man purposely caused a grain shortage to come in as a hero and save the day. And that didn't work out so well for him. He was slaughtered and decapitated and dragged through the streets. Not saying that should happen in this case, but what I'm saying is that it's going to inevitably rile people up when they cannot feed their families. Now, we see that with the current global depression we're witnessing right now, and we will see that when people literally cannot have food, cannot get food, and they're going to be dependent on FEMA, the most inefficient industry in the world that actually just prolongs dependency and doesn't actually give people what they need. We are witnessing something completely unprecedented here. So just imagine. Now, I know there's a lot of vegans in the audience and all sorts of stuff. Just imagine for a second, regardless if you're a vegan or if you're a meat eater, it doesn't matter. If you are any of those, they are taking millions of chickens, millions of cattle, millions of pigs, and is killing them because the government says they can't feed people because of a health concern that doesn't include these pigs, these cows, these chickens. It's because a few workers might get sick and die, and yes, they might, but obviously way overblown, but nonetheless, they might. But let's actually consider the facts here, which no one seems to be caring about, is an economic crisis leads to far more deaths than the coronavirus ever will, bar none. And it also leads to more divide, more crime, more poverty, more people desperate, begging for money in the streets, more people in bread lines. As I had at the beginning of the video here, I have my thumbnail for this video. You could see I had to make sure to put in a bread line, one of Bernie Sanders' favorite things, in the background here. It says a lot about the current state of the world that we're in, is that we keep repeating history and we're doomed to repeat it because no one actually listens. And again, we're being in a dependent culture, we end up in that old Roman saying that is, strong men create good times, good times create weak men create bad times, or hard times create strong men. You go in a circle. It's very cyclical. Civilization in itself, as far back as you could possibly go throughout humanity, is very cyclical. So we are witnessing something that's very unprecedented and is going to affect everyone. And how much longer are we supposed to stay inside? And why are we listening? Now, I can't advocate for not listening on YouTube because it's against the new community guidelines. But look, how much longer are we going to put up with being forced into our house, which will lead into, again, a massive crisis? And people are actually thanking the government in some cases for being able to walk down the streets in some cities after a couple months. They're actually thanking their slave masters for allowing them the privilege of walking their dog. When we have this happening, we end up watching the complete collapse of a market, complete collapse of the supply chain, the complete collapse of employment, the complete collapse of the economy, and that leads to massive health concerns. That leads to massive poverty, and we're supposed to just say, well, it's for the greater good of the greater number. What greater number are we talking about here? It's killing more people than it's helping. And it's also incredibly tyrannical. Globally, we're in a prison planet right now. So we're just supposed to look the other way and go, well, you know what happens. It's Really, really sad to me to watch or witness this take place right now, and people do so little. I'm going to get into the comments right away. Make sure to hit that like button if you haven't already on this video. Unlucky if this video stays up and running right now. I'm on a very shady laptop here that is known for shutting down, so wish me luck in staying live here. Make sure to share this on social media. Hit that like button, and those super chats go a long way. Shinobi1 says, I like my prison cell. Yeah, some of us do. Especially Ellen DeGeneres going, oh, this is so terrible, but we have to do this for the people. We must stay strong. You're in a mansion the size of a small town. Just give me a break. And again, if you're just joining us, we're witnessing the complete collapse of the food supply. We already witnessed the collapse of just the supply chain, generally speaking, a ways back when we saw people stupidly stock up on 5-year supplies of toilet paper, but no food, maybe a couple bags of flour here and there, some pasta, and they just overwhelmed all the grocery stores. And by the way, if we're talking about the spread of an illness, that's a good way to start. And at the same time, as I've been previously reporting on, they are shutting down the small business grocery stores while allowing Walmart to stay open. And then they're saying because of health concerns, well, isn't it less of a risk to go into a small convenience store than a packed, a Walmart with thousands of people in it with 16-year-olds cleaning? Seriously, we are in backwards land right now. This is like seriously the doublespeak of the greatest form, as Orwell would put it. I want to give a big shout out to Roy Lowry, who sent $5 in the super chat. Says, "Love you, Josh. Hope this helps." I really appreciate that. That does help a lot. All the super chats go a long way. We have lots more news to get into today, so don't go anywhere, guys. Make sure to share this on social media and hit that like button. We got a lot more stories that I want to break down. Black Mirror Hennedy sent £2 in the super chat as well. Thank you so much. We really appreciate those donations here at WAM. It's the only thing that keeps us up and running, my friends. Anyway, we got more stories to go into, so I'm going to go into the next story, and we'll go back and I'll take questions over all these issues in a little bit. I appreciate any questions you throw at us here. Anyway, let's bring up the next story here, and it's a very important issue indeed, something that I've been covering for a long time and is coming to fruition now. It's a 3-day-old article, but it's a very important story that not enough people are covering. As this Yahoo Finance article says, China's national blockchain will change the world. Talk about supply chain. Blockchain definitely plays into it, but it could be used for good and evil. And in the case of China, there's no way in hell they're using it for good. As the article goes into here, Professor Michael Sung is founder and chairman of Carbon Blue Innovations, a tech transfer platform for commercializing internationally sourced blockchain, fintech, and digital finance innovation in developing countries. He's also co-director of the Fintech Research Center at the Fanhai International School of Finance at Fudan University. As it continues here, this week, China will officially launch a major new blockchain initiative called the Blockchain-Based Services Network, BSN. The BSN is a critical part of China's national blockchain strategy that was announced by President Xi in late November 2019, but went largely under the radar as a simultaneous announcement of China's digital RMB currency called the DCEP swept the world by storm. Only recently has the Western media recognized the significance of the BSN, which sees its mainland commercial launch April 25th. The portal's global commercial launch is scheduled for June 25th. Essentially, the BSN will be the backbone infrastructure technology for massive interconnectivity throughout the mainland, from city governments to companies and individuals alike. The network will also form the backbone to the digital Silk Road to provide interconnectivity to all of China's trade partners around the globe. The BSN will be a new internet protocol to allow a more efficient way to share data, value, and digital assets in a completely transparent and trusted way between anyone who wants to be a node on the network. By the way, Ross Ulbricht is formed the real digital Silk Road, not some fascio communist, cashless, technocratic, centralized bunch of crap like this. I'll go into that further in a moment. But anyway, it says the main BSN founding consortia partners are the State Information Center, China's top-level government policy and strategy think tank affiliated with the National Development and Reform Commission, China Mobile, China's largest national telecom with over 900 million subscribers. Ridiculous. 21 million have left recently by complete mystery. No one knows why. And China's China UnionPay, the world's top payment and settlement provider with 8 billion issued credit cards. And Red Date Technologies, the main blockchain architect for the BSN. CoinDesk had a separate article about Red Date here, and I'm not going to go into that. But anyway, China Mobile is focused on the IT infrastructure deployment and has been accelerating the rollout of 5G, oh great, and cloud adoption on the mainland. The BSN has developed cloud management technology that will allow multiplexing compute on top of flexible multi-cloud architecture in a very resource-efficient way. Cloud providers under BSN's multi-cloud management services already include AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Baidu Cloud, China Unicom, China Telecom, and China Mobile. And again, if this is complicated to any of you guys, I'm going to break down those simple facts that the reason why I have a lot of concern about this issue in a moment. The BSN launch will allow companies to access ultra-low-cost blockchain cloud computing services. Target pricing is less than $400 a year, which would allow any SME or individual access to critical tools to participate in the digital economy and drive adoption and financial inclusion opportunities. Well, of course, they're not going to make it too expensive. They want to make sure that everyone is on that grid. The scale of the BSN is breathtaking, with 100 city nodes across China at launch and participation by all three major national telecoms and major framework providers on the mainland. The central government has developed a master top-down plan to connect all the major cities in the country, rolling out to 200 cities over the next year and rapidly to all 451 prefecture-level cities thereafter. As I write this article, the world's largest scaled blockchain testnet is imminently preparing to launch. There are various blockchain-as-a-service applications being developed simultaneously, many of which are already being deployed by city governments to provide services for citizens across the mainland, ranging from paying utility bills to registering company credentials. As example, the Hangzhou government has launched a blockchain pilot for a unified digital identity for faster authentication of individuals using government services. Of course, the Chinese central government sees blockchain as a critical next-generation IT infrastructure to build future smart cities, connecting cryptographically secure databases linked by 5G to scalable cloud and data management infrastructure such that big data AI analytics can efficiently run on top. So we're going to go into this a little bit before we get into any of our other stories, because this is, I find this very important. Not enough people recognize the importance of what they're unrolling right now in China, and it's something that they've been planning to unroll since the 1970s. They just didn't have their hands on the right technology, though if we're seeing this, trust me, the military had their technology for quite some time. But look, what they're doing essentially is creating a database that makes it more possible to track people in real time. You never have to put a chip in anyone's arms because you got facial recognition. You got cameras on every square inch of the whole country taking pictures and videos of every movement of cars, of everything. The social distancing is a great way to test this network, by the way, by keeping people 6 feet apart so you can actually test faces and scan it at a more efficient scale. But this is over the top. The speed of this, the ability to track everything is absolutely enormous in China, and this is technocracy in a nutshell. This is a creation of, eventually, the Chinese world order. This is essentially the Chinese global currency system, also possibly tied in with the IMF's SDR, which, again, the IMF have been talking for years, as we've been reporting for years, that they want to put their headquarters in Beijing. So this is very convenient for the Chinese government to be able to adopt and deploy. Going back to a Kissinger meeting with Mao Zedong, creating an alliance with China in the 1970s, which created a massive monopoly on trade for China, created a massive power shift, even back then, to a country that had already killed 50 million people. And then leading into Zbigniew Brzezinski's Trilateral Commission, partnering with China, and as he said, to create a global technocratic superstate, which then we see unroll with the social credit in China in recent days and all that. I think there's a massive power shift going on. I've been saying that for a long time, and lately we've been seeing every sign of that as well. So what I see out of this current situation is that they're just deploying a faster speed, more efficient way to track every single person in China. And eventually that will be rolled out in the US, in Canada, in Britain, everywhere else. Obviously, Britain has been a massively surveilled state for a very long time. And they only have to utilize the already existing infrastructure technology that's been there for 15, 20 years in order to utilize this kind of technocratic system and also create social credit. And maybe you can sell social credit. Maybe you can buy social credit. Maybe you can utilize your obeying the state in order to become rich in this coming society. Of course, there's incentive. Everyone wants money and to live like a king. You'll never quite be a king. You'll be tracked everywhere, and you'll have to be a good slave, or else if you dare say anything about the master, good luck getting a sandwich at a store or a shop. Good luck going grocery shopping. Good luck getting on a plane. Good luck leaving the country. And in fact, if it's worldwide, good luck leaving at all, because there will be no leaving for any of you. It'll all be part of a global prison planet. And this is what concerns me the most about this. Again, you could use blockchain for good and evil. Just like you could use a gun to slaughter a whole bunch of innocent people, you could use that same gun to save all those innocent people from being slaughtered. And in this case, we see blockchain technology being used for evil. But decentralized and privacy-oriented especially, you can utilize it for good to escape that very system that's enslaving people. But nonetheless, what we're witnessing right now in China is not that. We are seeing the creation of a global currency system based in social credit, artificial intelligence, facial recognition, blockchain infrastructure technology that is utilized on a central scale from government. Again, if your money's in the bank, it's not yours, it's a bank's. If your money's always going through the banks via digital transactions and legal tender laws, it's never your money, it's always a bank's, and you are enslaved to the government and the banking system right where they want to, my friends. Usury under social credit. That's fiat, by law, by force, by fiat. And again, the United Nations has been trying to basically mimic the Chinese style of government on a global scale for quite some time. And it in no way surprises me that they would utilize this along with Bill Gates and the World Health Organization and the ID 2020 platform, and utilizing 5G speeds in order to unroll this tracking system globally. It's not even as much to me about the health concerns as it is about the tracking, the ability for every single individual to be tracked without ever putting a chip in their arm. It's always the tyranny that always comes under the guise of convenience, doesn't it? It's always about giving you guys something cool, something shiny, something new, something that makes it more convenient to live. However, it makes it less convenient for freedom, which is why we as free individuals have to develop new, marvelous, amazing, innovative, competitive things on the market that are good for the purpose of good under the guise of convenience as well. We have to use that against them. And luckily we have seen some of that in the past several years, but it hasn't really caught on as much as, these stupid grid systems that we see coming out of China, and Facebook being able to trying to create Libra based on social credit in itself, helping develop facial recognition in China. This has been a power shift that's been happening for a long time, and we're witnessing a big part of that power shift happen right now, today. And again, the United Nations are definitely on top of that as well. Now, this goes into my next story. And by the way, send in those super chats. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Check those links below. Join our new newsletter at www.iamband.com. Check out our COINTREE account, which gives you all the different cryptos you can donate or pledge or tip in. I really appreciate anything you guys can do. But anyway, before we go into any of the questions and the super chats that I hope to see on here today, it really keeps us up and running here, guys. Same with GoFundMe, Patreon, and Subscribestar. Before I go into any of that, I'm going to go into our next story because I think it does connect to what I'm talking about here today. Now, let me bring this up on the screen. It's a story that I'm quite positive most of you have been hearing about nonstop, and there's a big mystery surrounding this story indeed. Let's go into this article. If I can get this to load out of the express.uk. Let me just wait for it to load a little bit here. It's very glitchy. There we go. Out of the Express, as it says, Kim Jong-un dead claims. Oh, it's bouncing around. Dead claims spark chaos. Helicopters swoop over Pyongyang as locals panic buy. And this is very interesting. Sorry, it's very laggy on this website today. It's very interesting because this is showing a sign, at least, that in North Korea, people are hearing the news and potentially reacting to it, that Kim Jong-un might be dead. Now, keep in mind, we were the first media in the world to report on this possibility. We were the first media in the world outside of Hong Kong. We were reporting on it first on, I believe, the 21st. And then a few days ago, middle of the night, 2 a.m., this story came out that it was possible that Kim Jong-un was dead. So I reported on it at the time based on Hong Kong satellite television and their vice chair, who is a NISO foreign minister in China, who is breaking this kind of news. But anyway, as this article says here, store shelves in Pyongyang have been emptied as conflicting reports continue to surface about the dictator's possible demise. Helicopters have been flying low over the capital, and trains in North Korea and northern China have been disrupted. The Washington Post reported speculation Kim was gravely ill or dead began after the leader's absence from a highly publicized celebration for the Republic's 88th anniversary. And as it continues below, I'm sorry, it's so laggy on this website here today. Reports over the weekend have leaked that the leader's train had been at a standstill for days. A report by 38 North, a Washington-based project that monitors North Korea, said the train's presence does not prove the whereabouts of the North Korean leader or indicate anything about his health, but it does lend weight to reports that Kim is staying at an elite area of the country's eastern coast. Many people are saying he's trying to get away from coronavirus. All right. Well, I have heard news previously that anyone who was coughing in the street was just being shot dead on sight. As it says, despite an assertion from South Korean leader Sunday that Kim was alive and well, his fate remains uncertain. Again, none of this is confirmed. No one knows what the hell is going on, but we're going to go into that a bit deeper and go through some of the theories that are coming up. As it says, according to South Korean President Moon Jae-in, Kim Jong-un has been staying in the Wonsan area since April 13th. On Saturday, Senator Lindsey Graham told Fox News host Jeanine Pirro he would be shocked if Kim was still alive, given his unusual disappearance in recent days. Well, as it does point out in here, it says Kim Jong-un did a similar disappearing act in 2014 when he went several weeks without being seen, sparking rumors of a military coup when he reemerged. Officials reported that he had been recovering from a surgery. South Korean media last week reported that Kim Jong-un may have undergone cardiovascular surgery or was in isolation to avoid exposure to the new coronavirus, which, by the way, Japanese media also said he was in a vegetative state. There is a fake photo going around of him apparently dead. That is not real, so let's be clear on that. I'm loading up this other article here, and we'll get into that right away, my friends, so just bear with me here. But as it says here, World War III, Kim Jong-un's death could spark disaster. Will get us into nuclear war. Now, Express is a very old newspaper. It was very reputable at one point. It's now very clickbaity, to say the least. But nonetheless, it says the death of North Korean despot Kim Jong-un would spark a military confrontation that will make Afghanistan and Iraq pale in comparison, defense experts have warned. That sounds like absolute fear-mongering to me, my friends, and I am not going to endorse such a statement, especially considering, the way that they were reporting it, 2 years ago after the Fire and Fury comments that everyone's going to die, and they were moving massive amounts of ships into the Gulf, and the Russian military had missiles at the northern border, and China was surrounding them. Thousands, I think 10,000 Chinese troops at one point. There's definitely concern. But look, North Korea is a puppet state of China, and with that, North Korea also does not have the ability to shoot off a missile and hit another country. The computers are very faulty, and the U.S. government is able to intervene in it and literally shut down the missiles on takeoff. So if there's any fear, there's mostly based on colonialism, if anything, that the U.S. government wants to try and take over that area. China definitely wants to replace Kim Jong-un with his sister. It makes it easier to control this puppet guinea pig state. Nonetheless, it's the idea that he's dead is very, very likely, or in vegetative state, very, very likely. His father and grandfather both died of heart attacks themselves. But with that said, we cannot confirm anything, and he could very well be alive. So the speculation gets kind of ridiculous after a while, my friends. And but nonetheless, there are some interesting stories out there regarding what actually did happen to Kim Jong-un. And I'm going to bring a story up on the screen for you in just a moment. Again, everything is very laggy for me right now. I'm on a very shady computer today, so please bear with me. It's not even my computer, and it's just a terrible machine. But I'm gonna bring this up on the screen here, guys. As it says out of Zero Hedge, what happened to Kim Jong-un? Top theories emerge, and as this article goes into, North Korea's Kim Jong-un hasn't been seen since April 11th, notably missing the country's most important holiday on April 15th, honoring his grandfather Kim Il-sung. As it continues here, it says, what we do know is that China dispatched a team of medical experts to North Korea amid conflicting reports that Kim underwent a botched cardiovascular surgery, according to the Daily NK. However, Kim has mostly recovered. Can you imagine being Kim Jong-un's doctor? But yeah, according to the Daily NK, Kim has mostly recovered. But then again, the Daily NK also said 2 days ago that he was definitely dead. Last Monday, it says, though, MSNBC's Katie Tur tweeted Kim Jong-un is brain dead and that both NBC and CNN have confirmed his status. She quickly deleted the tweet out of abundance of caution. And by the way, I wouldn't doubt it if they got the information first because they're working with China. As it continues here, it says, so with rumors over Kim's fate swirling, here are the top theories as to what's going on, according to Bloomberg. It says, relax, he's just fine. And I quote, Kim Jong-un is alive and well, according to Moon Chung-in, special advisor to South Korea's president. In a Sunday statement to Fox News, Moon said that Kim had been staying in the coastal resort town of Wonsan since April 13th. But then it says here, he's toast, according to CNN, so who knows. U.S. intelligence suggests that Kim is in grave danger following the surgery. Meanwhile, Bloomberg reported that U.S. officials were told Kim is in critical condition, but could not confirm his status. It says, while U.S.-based President Donald Trump said Thursday that he believed the CNN report was incorrect and based on old documents, rumors about Kim deteriorating condition only accelerated on social media. On Saturday, Reuters reported that the Chinese Communist Party's International Department dispatched a team including medical experts to North Korea on Thursday to advise on Kim. The news service, which cited 3 people familiar with the situation, said it was unclear what the delegation signaled about Kim's health, according to Bloomberg. According to China's foreign ministry, the medical team was related to coronavirus testing. That is not the same as a medical team, said CCP spokesman Geng Shuang in a Monday night interview from Beijing. Then it says Kim is social distancing, and it says not wanting to catch coronavirus since the 36-year-old is in higher risk category on account of his obesity. Some have suggested that the North Korean leader is simply quarantining amid the COVID-19 crisis, despite the fact that North Korea hasn't disclosed any cases. And as it continues